All right, so picture this. It's a warm Thursday night in Mexico City, June 11, 2026, and the whole dang world is watching because this is the very first match of the biggest World Cup ever. 48 teams, man. Can you believe it? The legendary Estadio Azteca, that old concrete beast that's seen Pelé and Maradona work their magic, has just been polished up with a $200 million facelift. And let me tell you, it's absolutely packed with 87,500 souls, every single one of them screaming their lungs out. I'm talking about a sea of green jerseys, sombreros, face paint, and flags so big they cover entire sections. The smell of grilled corn, chili powder, and spilled beer is hanging in the air, and you can feel the bass drum in your chest before the players even step onto the grass. Now, here's the thing about Mexico heading into this game. They've got a curse hanging over their heads like a dark cloud that just won't break. I'm serious. In 96 years of World Cup history, across 7 opening matches, El Tri had never, ever won one. 5 losses, 2 draws, and a whole lot of heartbreak. The fans call it the Maldición, and every time Mexico steps onto that pitch for an opener, you can see it in their eyes, that little flicker of fear. But tonight feels different, because this time they're playing at home, in front of their own people, and the opponent is South Africa, a team that's making their first World Cup appearance since they hosted the thing back in 2010. There's a poetic symmetry there, you know? 2 nations that love soccer more than life itself, meeting on the biggest stage. The pregame show is something else, too. I mean, they pulled out all the stops. Shakira comes flying out on a platform singing that new anthem, Die Die with Burna Boy, and then Mana and J Balvin join in, and Salma Hayek is waving from a luxury box like she owns the place. But the real showstopper is this massive mechanical Quetzalcoatl drone, the feathered serpent god, that swoops over the field breathing fake fire and dropping glitter everywhere. It's ridiculous and beautiful at the same time, and for a moment, everyone forgets about the curse. Then the teams line up for the national anthems, and let me tell you, when the Mexican players put their hands over their hearts, and that crowd roars, Mexicanos, Al Grito de Guerra, it's so loud you can't even hear yourself think. South Africa's anthem is beautiful too, all harmonies and hope, and their captain Ronwen Williams has got tears in his eyes. The guy grew up in a township outside Port Elizabeth, and now he's guarding the net in the World Cup opener. You can't write a better script. The referee is Wilton Sampaio from Brazil, a guy with a reputation for loving his cards, and we're about to find out just how much. The whistle blows at 8:06 p.m. local time, and the first 10 minutes are like a heavyweight boxing match, both teams feeling each other out, a few hard tackles, a lot of shouting in Spanish and Zulu. Then, in the 9th minute, everything changes. South Africa's midfielder Sfefilo Sithole, and yeah, I had to practice saying that name about 15 times, gets a little too casual with the ball near his own penalty area. He's trying to shield it from Eric Lira, this scrappy 26-year-old Mexican who plays like his hair, on fire. Lira sticks a foot in, pokes the ball loose, and it rolls right into the path of Julian Quinones. Now, Quinones is a story all by himself. He was born in Colombia, grew up kicking a tennis ball on dirt streets, and only got Mexican citizenship a couple years ago after living there for long enough. Some purists grumbled about a naturalized guy leading the line, but coach Javier Aguirre didn't care one bit. Quinones takes one touch to settle the ball, looks up, and sees Williams off his line by just a couple feet. He doesn't panic. He just side-foots a low, skidding shot that goes right through the goalkeeper's legs, like threading a needle, and into the bottom right corner. The Azteca doesn't cheer. It detonates. I'm talking a wall of sound that hits you like a physical force. 87,000 people jumping up and down, hugging strangers, crying, waving those giant flags. Quinones sprints to the corner flag and slides on his knees, tearing up the grass, and the whole bench empties onto the field. It's 1-0 Mexico, and for the first time in their tortured history, the curse feels like it might just be a myth. But here, where the drama really kicks in, folks. Mexico doesn't sit back. They keep coming, wave after wave. Raul Jimenez, the old warrior who nearly died from a fractured skull back in 2020 and has been fighting his way back ever since, is playing like a man possessed. He's 35 years old. This is his 4th World Cup, and he's never scored in any of them. You can see the hunger in his eyes. In the 24th minute, he gets a half chance on a volley, but Williams, who is having an absolute blinder, tips it over the bar. Then, just before halftime, in the 42nd minute, Quinones gets another golden opportunity. A cross from the right finds him all alone about 12 yards out, and he hits it first time with his left foot. The ball is heading for the top corner, and you can already hear the crowd starting to roar. But ping, it smacks off the inside of the right post and bounces back into play. The groan that goes through that stadium is like a physical pain. You can hear it on TV, 87,000 people all going aye at the exact same second, like a Greek chorus of agony. That's the curse whispering again, folks. Halftime comes, and it's only 1-0, and everyone in the stands is nervous because they know South Africa still has 11 men and a whole lot of heart. Then the second half starts, and things get absolutely nuts. I mean, buckle up, because we're about to see more red cards than a communist parade. In the 50th minute, Mexico's young winger Brian Gutierrez, who's only 22 but plays like he's 32, all savvy and quick, gets sent through on goal by a brilliant little dink pass from Luis Chavez. Gutierrez is gone. He's sprinting toward the penalty area, and Sithole is the last man back. Sithole knows he's beaten, so he does the only thing he can think of. He just bowls Gutierrez over from behind, a rugby tackle on a soccer field, clear as day. Referee Sampio doesn't even hesitate. He jogs over, reaches into his back pocket, and holds up that shiny red card like a matador's cape. Sithole is devastated. He's kneeling on the grass, hands over his face, and his teammates are trying to argue, but there's no argument. South Africa is down to 10 men with 40 minutes still to play. Now, you'd think Mexico would just cruise from here, right? Take control, knock the ball around, score another goal or two, and go home happy. But that's not how soccer works, and it's certainly not how this match works. In the 66th minute, Mexico's coach Aguirre decides to make a piece of history. He sends in 17-year-old Gilberto Mora, a kid who looks like he should be in high shop class instead of on a World Cup pitch. Mora becomes the youngest Mexican player ever to appear in a World Cup, and the crowd gives him a standing ovation. The kid's legs are shaking. I swear I could see them trembling from the TV camera. And then, just 1 minute after that, 1 minute, the moment happens that will make you cry if you have any kind of soul. Mexico wins a corner kick on the left side. Roberto Alvarado swings it in with his left foot, a perfect arcing cross that drops right onto the head of Raul Jimenez at the far post. Jimenez is being marked by 2 South African defenders, but he just rises up like a salmon swimming upstream, and he powers a header right into the ground. The ball bounces once, and then it's past Williams and into the net before anyone can blink. 2-0 Mexico. And then Raul Jimenez, this grizzled, scarred, battle-tested veteran, just collapses to his knees. He's not celebrating like a normal goal scorer. He's not running to the corner flag or sliding or anything like that. He just drops to his knees in the grass, puts his face in his hands, and starts sobbing. I mean full on, shoulders shaking, tears streaming down his face sobbing. Because here's the backstory that makes it hurt so good. Jimenez's father, Raul S.R., passed away just 3 months before this game, in March 2026. It was sudden, a heart attack at 68 years old. The two of them were incredibly close. His dad used to drive him to youth practices in the rain, used to tell him that one day he'd score a World Cup goal and make all of Mexico proud. And now, at 35 years old, in his 4th and almost certainly final World Cup, Raul Jimenez has finally done it. He points both index fingers to the sky, and you can see his lips moving, and every lip reader in the world agrees he's saying, "This is for you, Papa." The entire Azteca, 87,000 people, is crying right along with him. His teammates swarm him, but they're crying too. The South African players are standing there awkwardly, some of them with their hands on their hips, and even a couple of them are wiping their eyes. It's one of those moments that reminds you why sports matter, because they give us a chance to turn grief into joy, even if just for a second. But wait, because we're not done. Oh no, not even close. The game has gone from beautiful to chaotic in the span of 5 minutes, and it's about to get uglier than a traffic jam in LA in the 74th minute, with South Africa down to 10 men and losing 2-0. Tempers start to fray. There's a little scrum near the sideline after a hard tackle, nothing major, just some shoving and finger-pointing. But then, out of nowhere, South Africa's Thembaz Zwane just loses his mind. He walks up to Roberto Alvarado, who's lying on the ground after being fouled, and he slaps him in the back of the neck. I'm not making this up, an open-handed slap, right on the neck, like something out of a playground fight. Alvarado rolls around holding his neck, and the VAR official immediately buzzes down to Sampaio. The ref goes to the monitor, watches it twice, and then comes back with that red card already in his hand. Zwane is protesting, but there's no protest that's gonna work. You can't slap a guy in a World Cup match and expect to stay on the field. South Africa is down to 9 men now, and the game has officially turned into a circus. But Mexico, in a moment of pure, inexplicable stupidity, decides to match South Africa's madness. Deep into stoppage time, we're talking the 94th minute, with the game already won. Cesar Montes, a defender who should know better, flies into a tackle on South Africa's Kulizo Mudau. It's late, it's high, it studs up into Mudau's shin. There's no argument, it's a straight red card, no questions asked. Sampaio holds it up, and just like that, Mexico is down to 10 men. 3 red cards in one match, folks. I've been watching World Cup since 1994, and I have never, ever seen 3 red cards in an opening match. The final whistle blows about 2 minutes later. Mexico wins 2-0, but the victory feels weirdly tainted. The curse is broken. For the first time in 8 tries, Mexico has won a World Cup opening match. And Raul Jimenez has his goal, the one he promised his dad. But the cost is 2 yellow cards and a red for Mexico, and they're going to miss Montes for the next game against France, which is going to be a nightmare. As the players walk off the field, you can see the mix of emotions: joy, relief, exhaustion, and a little bit of anger at themselves for losing their cool. Jimenez is still wiping his eyes, and he stops at the sideline to hug his mom, who's in the front row, and she's crying too, and the camera just lingers on them for a full 10 seconds. That's the human stuff right there. That's what you can't script. After the match, the press conferences are pure gold. Jimenez is asked about the goal, and he can barely get the words out. He says, through a translator, "My father watched every game I ever played from when I was 5 years old until 3 months ago. I know he saw this one. I know he was smiling." And then he just breaks down again and has to leave the room. The Mexican coach, Aguirre, who's a fiery little guy with a mustache that deserves its own Instagram account, is asked about the red cards, and he doesn't hold back. "That was stupid," he says in Spanish, and the translator politely changes it to unwise. But you know what he meant. The South African coach, Hugo Broos, an old Belgian guy with a face like a bulldog that's seen everything, is actually pretty philosophical. He says, "We lost the game, yes, but we lost our discipline more." 2 red cards is unacceptable at this level. We will learn from this because we still have 2 group games to play. And you know what? He's right. South Africa isn't eliminated yet. It's just 1 loss, and with 9 men, they actually defended pretty bravely. But still, it's a bitter pill to swallow, especially for them Baz Zwane, who's a veteran and should know better. Now let's talk about the atmosphere in the city after the game, because that's where the real story is. I had a buddy who was actually there, watching in a bar in the Condessa neighborhood, and he said the streets just exploded when the final whistle blew. Cars honking, people dancing on rooftops, mariachi bands playing Cielito Lindo on every corner, fireworks going off over the Angel of Independence statue. But there was also this undercurrent of concern, you know. Because Mexican fans are smart, they know that 2 yellow cards for key players and a red for Cesar Montes means they're shorthanded against France, who are probably the best team in the world right now, with Kylian Mbappé running around like a cheetah on caffeine. So the celebration is real, but it's not the delirious, worry-free party you'd expect. It's more like, okay, we won, that's great. But we've got work to do. That's the sign of a fan base that's been hurt before. They're not getting too high because they know the crash could come soon. From a statistical standpoint, let me give you the dry numbers, because even a human story needs a little backbone. Mexico had 58% possession, which you'd expect against a team with 9 men for the last 10 minutes plus stoppage. They took 17 shots, 7 on target. South Africa only managed 4 shots, none on target after the 60th minute. Passing accuracy was 84% for Mexico, 77% for South Africa. But the number that jumps out is the fouls, 22 total, with 3 straight reds and 7 yellow cards. Referee Sampio had to have carpal tunnel after that match from reaching into his pocket so many times. The man of the match was obviously Raul Jimenez, not just for the goal, but for the emotional weight of it. FIFA's official award went to him, and when they handed him that little trophy on the field, he kissed it and then pointed to the sky again. You couldn't write a better ending, but I gotta say, the most human moment didn't even happen on the field. It happened about an hour after the game, when someone posted a video on social media that went absolutely viral. It was shot from the stands, and it shows a young Mexican boy, maybe 8 years old, wearing a Jimenez jersey. He's holding a hand-painted sign that says, "Raul, my dad is in heaven too. Can you wave?" And in the video, as the players are walking off, Jimenez stops, sees the sign, and walks over to the barrier. He leans over, takes the boy's hand, and says something into his ear that you can't hear. Then he takes the little metal pin off his own jersey, the one with the Mexican flag and the number 9, and hands it to the kid. The boy just stares at it like it's made of gold, and then he starts crying, and his mom is crying, and everyone around them is crying, and then the video ends. That, my friends, is why we watch sports. It's not about the tactics or the formations or the XG or any of that fancy analytics stuff. It's about a 35-year-old man who lost his father and an 8-year-old boy who lost his father. And for 1 second in a crowded stadium in Mexico City, they understood each other completely. That's the human touch. That's the stuff that makes you believe in magic, even when the game is ugly and the red cards are flying and the ref is losing control. Mexico won 2-0, but really, everyone who watched that match, whether you were rooting for El Tri or Bafana Bafana or just soccer itself, won something that night. You won a memory. You won a story you'll tell your grandkids. And in a world that feels pretty broken most of the time, that's not nothing. That's everything. All right, I've been talking for what feels like an hour, and I think I've given you every single drop of that night. The goal, the post, the curse, the red cards, the tears, the kid in the stands. That's Mexico versus South Africa, June 11, 2026. I hope you felt like you were there because I sure did. And if you ever run into Raul Jimenez at an airport or a restaurant, just give him a nod and say, "Your dad's proud." He'll know exactly what you mean. Now, who's got the next round? I'm parched.